Yes, welcome back. We haven't been around for a few weeks. It is, hang on. Here we go. It is the What Are We Doing Here podcast, or as somebody suggested to me today, we should change it to the What Are We Talking About podcast. But, oh my gosh, I took the dogs for a walk, guys. I came back and Spurs have signed Semenyo. It's crazy. Spurs signed him. Our fans have already told me it's a no-brainer. They've told me that we're the favourites. Perchy, Chris, hello. How are we? Happy Monday.
All good, all good. Thanks for making me rush all the way home from central London for this podcast where we've got nothing to fucking talk about anyway. Happy days. I'm all good. Thank you for bringing me on here.
Oh, someone's being a bit... I think the word is cunty. Is that a word? Is that...
Hey,
should we just go with
say
that?
what you want. This is what this podcast's all about. Who gives a shit anymore?
What's wrong? Did somebody steal your seat on the tube or the train or something? Why are you in a mood? What's wrong?
No, it's not that. Just going on the train home from work is like an assault course of human beings. Like, even if you have a seat, there's no space to do anything. So you just sit there and then and now I'm having to hear that we're signing Semenyo and he's the obvious choices to come to Tottenham, which I find is absolute madness. But I think we're going to dig into it a bit later.
We're going to dig into it, but can I just ask, just quickly before I introduce Chris? I hate rumours, but this one I quite like. Did you finish 7th in X Factor? 7th. I love that. 7th in 2013. Were you ever on X Factor?
I wasn't, but I'm now want to know who I'm being referred to.
I'm looking it up, man. I've got to look it up.
So it's very specific. Christopher's going to find out who this is.
I'd like to know, who does Perchy look like, and will you sing for us, Perchy?
No, okay, I don't get paid. I don't get paid to be on this podcast. Why would I sing?
I get a feeling he doesn't want to be here, Chris. He keeps mentioning being on this podcast.
First of all, I mean, talking to us, Savva, moaning about his journey back from work, I'm like, well,
I know, yeah.
Oh,
I think the phrases go.
The idiots in the chat saying I look like Wagner. I look nothing like that. That guy looked like a lunatic.
Hey, I've just googled he finished 7th in that.
I don't get the reference. Where do I look like him?
No, neither do I, because this guy is way too good looking to be you. Fucking hell.
Show us. Can you share your screen, Chris?
Hang on.
Yeah, let me get a picture of him up.
You can piss off. Hang on a minute. Wait, what?
So Perchy looks like someone called Wagner. Is that what we're saying?
Wagner. I got Sam Callahan, and I was like, that doesn't make any sense. Like, he's a good-looking bloke.
I don't know who is the person that finished 7th. This guy. I don't know if fair play. This is amazing.
I like the way this has started. Someone else has said Perchy is Guillaume Balaguer.
I kind of like that one. I kind of like that one. I like Guillaume Balaguer. I love it. I'll take that one.
I like Guillaume Balaguer. Big up to each of you inside. Hit that like button. I don't ask for likes and subscribers anymore. I just gave up. So do what you got to do. If anyone wants to buy me a coffee, feel free. Match Bingo's there. Please subscribe to them. They told me last month that a fair few people have been signing up and enjoying the game. So please log into Match Bingo. And guys, just so you know, I'm having a full-on debate in person tomorrow with troops. That should be fun, shouldn't it?
Yeah. Why not?
Yeah, just
look, Chris is about to
Oh, hang on. Who's this? Who's this stud muffin?
This is what I mean. This is the guy who finished 7th in 2013. I think we might have the years wrong here.
What? I'll take that one. Dad, do you know what? Thank you. That's a compliment.
Perchy, take your top off. I want to see if you look like this.
If I took my top off, my man, you will get demonetized and lose your whole channel. Because let's not do that to your viewership.
Yeah, I think we might have the years wrong there. I don't think that's the right comparison somehow.
Chris, how are you? And have you ever been told you look like anyone? Let's get this out of the way. I'll give you mine in a minute. Who have you ever been told you look like?
Yeah, a little bit like how have I forgotten his name? David, is it David Mitchell? From
I can see that. I can see that.
Yeah, is that Peep Show? Is that Yeah. And the Mitchell and Webb look. Yeah.
I'll take that. I'm not really too bothered about the physical comparison, but there are worse people to be compared to than that. So
Yeah,
I quite like him. I think he's funny. So I take it as like that's a comparison of my wit and humour when obviously it isn't, but I'll pretend it is. So
yeah, let's just go with it. I get Lionel Messi and Alexis McAllister quite a lot. And not so much Messi now, but I get Alexis McAllister a lot. But I want to put this out there. They look like me because I'm older than them, right? So if I was here first, they must surely look like me. When I was growing up, I got Freddie Prinze Jr. and Dane Bowers when I was growing up. Long time ago. Long time ago.
What do the chat think? Who do the chat think?
Oh, someone says I look like Dave. That's amazing. I don't look anything like Dave.
Dave. Irish Dave.
Irish Dave.
Yeah, Perchy is Irish Hotspur younger brother.
Irish Hotspur's younger brother without a cap. I don't look anything like Dave.
I love it. I love it.
Big up Dave, by the way. What a legend. Love Dave.
Big up to Dave. I like Dave. Chat. Let us know who do we look like? Who do we look like? I'm sure I would say keep it clean, but just tell us who you think we look like. I also get some MMA fighter. I don't know the name though. I always get told I look like a particular MMA fighter.
Anyone specific?
I don't really. I only watched MMA when it was Conor McGregor. To be honest, because he was a bit of a character, wasn't he? Yeah, it's interesting. I've just seen Jamie Donnelly's name go across the screen. I'm guessing that's a substitutes bench that I'm looking at.
Oh gosh, I'll check a group chat in case Lubo's like bombarded it. Oh, he's playing!
Do you know what makes me laugh? Let's start with this tonight. You know we're going to talk about Semenyo in a bit, guys, but let's start with this. If ever you want to know
he's
how
starting, by the way. He's
Huh?
starting, by the way.
Oh gosh, he's back.
They are playing Luxembourg, by the way. Let's just remember that one. Right.
This is where we're about to start, T-Dub, right? We're about to start with Troy Parrott. Now, guys, you know me. I cannot stand reactionary fans. I find it's, first of all, I think the brain cells just aren't brain selling, right? So, right, you've got Troy Parrott. I think we can all tell he's not good enough, right? He's not good enough. I think he's going to have a decent career in football. He scored a few goals for Alkmaar. And then because he scored 5 goals for Ireland over the last 2 games, oh my God, I'm seeing polls. Should we have kept him? Were we wrong to let him go? Did we let him go too cheap? What is wrong with us? Am I being too harsh? What is wrong with us?
No. Do you know what Troy Parrott is going to become? By the way, Ireland will somehow get themselves into the World Cup. He'll have a decent World Cup, and he's going to be that player that gets signed at the World Cup by a decent side, and then comes to the Premier League and you go, what are we doing here? Like, do you know what I mean? Like there's always that one player in a World Cup that has an amazing tournament for a lesser nation. He goes and gets maybe 4 or 5 goals in the World Cup. Someone will go and snap him up and then go, yeah, this guy's not great. He's just had a good moment. Like,
you mean like him signing for like a Wolves or someone like that?
Yeah. He'll go to somewhere like a Wolves or a West Ham or someone like that. Then they sign him and then he gets 2 in 30. Sort of like, there's so many players that have done that, right? You know, when they've signed on the back of a World Cup.
Mate. And we did it, and we did it. Savva will remember this. I don't think I'm being too harsh, but in '94 when we signed, Klinsmann's obviously amazing, but we signed Dumitrescu, and Dumitrescu looked amazing, and he was amazing for about 4 games until people realised he only got one trick, like he'd do a step over and then go the other way, and then once they realised that was it really for him, and then his career kind of filtered out a little, petered out, and he went to West Ham, didn't he? Dumitrescu in the end. I
feel like we signed others though, like more recently though, like on the back of a decent World Cup, and then we go.
Poborski was one, but these are too old for you, mate. I'm going 90s. Poborski was one.
Hang on, have you got Harold Poborski to Man United?
Yeah. Because he did that lob, didn't he?
Look at El Hadj Diouf. Do you remember?
Yeah.
El Hadj Diouf going to Liverpool. Who else has signed? People in the chat, this is where we rely on you. Players that have signed or had a good move off the back of a Euros or a World Cup.
How about Rodriguez, the Colombian guy?
James Rodriguez, yeah, that's a good shout. But he was an all right.
James Rodriguez, he was a top player.
Yeah.
But could never ever stay fit and string 5 games together to actually show it. Like he had great tournaments, then he'd move somewhere, 2 games in, done. You know what I mean?
Who is that? I don't know if they did the move. I don't think they moved to the Premier League, but there was that one player. It's going to really irritate me. Do you know? No, he's one that always seems to get. You remember Ochoa, the Mexican goalkeeper? He used to always have an amazing World Cup, and everyone go sign him, sign him, sign him. He never got signed, and everyone goes,
"Who's that?
What? You remember that Ochoa, the Mexican goalkeeper?"
Oh,
the big had the big hair. Everyone kept going, "Oh my god, why are we not signing him? He's amazing." But everyone kind of went, "Well," and then he didn't do it, and he ended up playing like in Mexican football or whatever. Like, there's so many like World Cup players. Like,
see, I just go old though, which rules you out the conversation. I don't know if you remember, Savva, how well you remember 1990. But the one who definitely got a move off the back of 1990 was Alexi Lalas, the American guy.
Yeah, big ginger centre half with a beard.
Yeah. And he used to play guitar.
Yeah. Mate, listen, my memory goes, I'm pretty good with memory right back to about 86, 87. I start to get a bit hazy. But, the era when Spurs won trophies regularly,
But yeah, there was in the chat. I've got some good names. There's some good. I was reading the chat. Like, there's some great. Lozano's a good example. Hervin Lozano got that big move to Napoli. Didn't really do anything at Napoli. Paulinho, we signed off the back of a World Cup. There's a Asamoah Gyan. Gyan was already at Sunderland when he had that good World Cup. To be fair, I don't think he got the move because of that. It's just, it's interesting, right? Because I think it's interesting that just to sort of kind of go back to the hot topic of like Troy Parrott. Like, do you know what I find funny, right? And do you know what I hear all the time? The same people, right, that go, these crap leagues, and now the same people going, yeah, but we should get Troy Parrott. He's good. Which is it? Because it's ironic. Yeah. If Troy Parrott hadn't have started at Tottenham and we'd signed him from AZ Alkmaar, we'd have all been going, yeah, but it's easy to score loads of goals in the Dutch league. And then we signed. Do you know what I mean? It's quite ironic now. It's gone the other way.
Yeah, it's brilliant. I tell you what, everybody whoever's missed this, Perchy has just assured you all, go and put 100 quid on Troy Parrott to be the top goal scorer at this coming World Cup. Troy Parrott and Ireland to get to the semis. Yeah.
Yeah, why not? Don't only bet with money that you can lose. I'm not being liable for saying stuff like that. Just have a bit of fun with it.
Someone's put in here.
I got one of the World Cup names for you.
Oh, get out.
One other one. Do you remember Kleberson, who signed for United?
Yeah, it's a good shout.
That was off the back of the World Cup.
By the way,
he was a bit
Chris,
rubbish.
you messaged us in our group the other night and said about the Italy score. I then checked the World Cup qualifying. Have you guys seen how far in front everyone else Erling Haaland is for goals in the World Cup qualifying?
Bad, isn't it?
He has 16 goals in World Cup qualifying.
Here's a question, right? Based on Haaland's goal scoring, how far could he take Norway single-handedly? So on a serious point, like how much, like because we always talk about those. Because we all talk about those good squads in there, and you go, "Oh, look, England have got a decent squad. You've got the Spains, you've got like all the other nations." But just based on being the best goal scorer in the world, how far could that individually take Norway through the tournament?
You don't need to be the best game, do you? You don't need to be the best team in the game. As long as you're in the game, you've got a chance. Yeah, absolutely.
The thing is, if they don't concede many and stay in games, you've got a goal scorer, right? This is a thing. You've got to have I always think in football, you've got to have a goal scorer, whatever level of football you're in. If you are an average team in the Championship, League 1, League 2, but you've got a bloke that gets you 25, 30 goals, that gives you a chance of getting out of that league, whether it's by playoffs or whatever. Got to have a goal scorer. And we'll get to Spurs' lack of goal scorers in a minute. So I'm just eating a Mawan. Norway got some good players.
Yeah, they've got some decent players. I mean, Odegaard will be back as well. You've got to remember, he'll be back. Sanderberg in midfield. They haven't got terror. Like, do you know what I mean?
They've got Strand Larsen.
Strand Larsen as well. So they've
Nusa?
got Ahmed Musa's.
Antonio Nusa, isn't it? Isn't he?
Antonio Nusa. Sorry, yeah. I've combined. I'm talking about the old. Who?
Is Bob Norwegian?
Oscar Bob, yeah. Oscar Bob's a shout.
Yeah.
So my point is they've got the squad. But have you seen the teams, by the way? Talking of the World Cup, right? Have you guys seen the teams that have already qualified? Does anyone want to know the teams that have already qualified for the World Cup?
There's a few obscure ones, isn't there?
So here goes, because this is teams that are in it already. Ready? Are Australia, Iran, Japan, Jordan, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, South Korea, Uzbekistan, Algeria, Cape Verde, Savva's holiday destination of choice, Egypt, Ghana, Ivory Coast, Morocco, Senegal, South Africa, Tunisia. Then you've got Canada, Mexico, the United States. Then you've got Argentina, Brazil, Colombia, Ecuador, Paraguay, Uruguay, New Zealand, Croatia, England, France, Norway, and Portugal are the teams that are already through. And if you look at all the teams that are in the CONCACAF region at the moment, it looks like it's going to be teams like Curacao, Honduras.
Yeah, that's because Canada and the USA.
USA, and Mexico are already through.
Yeah.
I think this is going to be the fun. I think you're going to have games where you're going to have let's be fair, right? If someone like Norway were playing against Uzbekistan, right? Haaland's going to get like 10 goals like in one game. Like, this could be crazy.
But look at that. 16 goals, 2 assists, 2.04 goals per game, 44 minutes per goal.
That's crazy.
And 41 shots. I mean, this is absolutely outrageous.
Yeah, that's mad.
Like, everyone's sitting there going, Kane. Look at it. I'm not knocking Kane. But he's got 8 more than Kane, Depay, and Arnautovic. That is absolutely frightening. And people still want to belittle this man.
I mean, I'm not knocking it at all, but some of these World Cup qualifiers are just such a waste of time, aren't they? I mean,
but Kane's playing in those waste of time
qualifiers. I was just making a general point about the games. Some of them are just like ridiculous, really. But
I agree. I'll be honest. I don't watch the England games like I used to because
I haven't watched any.
All the big clubs, all the big nations normally qualify. Like I've got a feeling if I look through all the groups, nearly all of the big nations have won their group or are going through. It's pointless, isn't it? It's absolutely pointless. They might as well give those countries a bye and let everyone else play off. It's so pointless.
I mean, England, to give them their due, they haven't even conceded a goal, have they, England? I mean, it's ridiculous.
Oh yeah, I mean they're not playing anybody, are they? I mean, like if
exactly.
No part of me goes, I want to watch England versus Estonia or something.
But my bigger problem, I don't have an issue with the qualifiers. My issue now has become with the Nations League stuff. That's annoying me because I'll use Sweden as an example, right? Sweden have been dog shit in their group. Right, they've been dog shit, but they're going to still shithouse their way because they've got through. They'll win a playoff in the Nations League crap. Like, I sit there and go, what's the fucking point? Basically, if you're crap enough in your group and not qualify, like that's on you. Like you should. There is no reason why Sweden should be in a World Cup. They've been dog shit, and they're going to shithouse their way in.
They finished bottom of a group with Kosovo and Slovenia in Sweden. That's that bad.
Yeah, but essentially, it's harder to not qualify than it is to qualify. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, you've got to be really bad, like really, really bad to not get through now to these tournaments.
Yeah, the only thing though, if Italy don't qualify in the playoffs, that'd be the 3rd World Cup in a row that they haven't qualified for. I saw that Gattuso was moaning because he's like, well, we've lost 2 and we might not qualify, and Brazil have lost 6 games and they still qualify. It's very hard not to qualify from that South American.
I'm rooting for the Democratic Republic of Congo, by the way. I want the DRC to go and qualify. They knocked out Nigeria. They now have to go to a playoff against one of like New Caledonian. There was like these weird teams, like I think Bolivia's in this as well. There's like 4 intercontinental teams that can qualify to go through. It's like they'll play against like some really random teams. To be fair, he had an absolute stinker in one of those games, by the way.
I can't remember the last time. I'm not going to go into. I can't remember the last time I watched Bergvall play well. I keep hearing how great he is. I never watch him actually play well. Guys, let's move away from international football. Now that we know Troy Parrott's going to be the player of the tournament at the what's it called, the Golden Ball or whatever it's called?
He'll get the Golden Boot.
All right, well, I was going with the Golden Ball, which is the best player.
Could get both, couldn't he?
Currently held by Lionel Messi, right?
Yeah, the greatest player ever.
The greatest player, yeah. Well, in the natural succession is Messi, Troy Parrott. So full circle, Troy Parrott should sign for Spurs in the summer. Guys, so as I said, I walked the dog, came back, and everyone and their dog, no pun intended, decided that they were going to send me the David Ornstein post, and I'll bring it up on screen. And this is what David Ornstein has said. So it's not new information, but I think there's more information than there was before. So I think everyone knew that Semenyo signed a new contract, guys, in the summer. And what makes me laugh about this, by the way, is I remember at the beginning of the summer saying, God, I want this lad, and being told by everyone, oh, what, not a 65, 70 million. Now we are 4 months later going, if there's anything about us, we'll get him. Ornstein has said Bournemouth may be powerless to prevent Antoine Semenyo sale in January. Contract includes 65 million release clause available to all clubs, but must be triggered by a set date. So it gives Bournemouth the time to get in a replacement. Applies again in summer at a lower price. Now, guys, I'm going to ask you this, right? Sky Sports have been running it today that it is Man City, Liverpool and Tottenham are the 3 teams that want him, right? One, do you fancy your chances going up against those two small clubs? 2, do we think there's a bit more to the release clause, i.e., is it like a 50 million upfront part of the release clause? Because otherwise that seems pretty low. And 3, do we see Spurs having the balls to go toe-to-toe with those clubs and actually being able to convince Semenyo that Tottenham is the place to be in January?
Great point to start. Look, do I think it will sign Semenyo? No. Like, as I said all along. And by the way, look, when we talk about those clubs, let's not forget about there's other clubs out there as well, right? Outside of England that will be knocking on. Like, I hear this all the time about, oh, well, Arsenal, Liverpool, Man City, Tottenham. Look at clubs like Bayern Munich. Look at clubs like Barcelona, Real Madrid. That he's the player will. The thing is the release clause goes both ways, right? And Bournemouth will know that they're probably going to lose him, but they know they're going to get a fee of around 65 million quid, majority of it on top, right? So the player will sit there and go, I don't need to rush here. There's no rush for me. I want all the teams that want me to put their proposition on the table and I'll make the call. And I think this is the bit that what football fans don't get. They go in quickly, get it done quickly. The player will sit there and go, you can come as quick as you want. I will wait when everything's on the table and I'll make the call myself. I think it's really, really...
His agent will be telling him that, right?
His agent will
isn't going to go first come, first served, is he? The agent's going to go, whoa, hang on. Yeah. I've got a...
Oh, wait.
Hi, is that Liverpool? Right, Tottenham.
Yeah.
Tottenham have just put a bid on the table. We're in talks with them. What you're saying, I'll give you 48 hours. Come back to me. Do you know what I mean?
And the irony is, right, we talk about January. Like, I'll put this hypothetical out. let's just say Real Madrid are on the blower. They go, look, we can't get him in January. We don't want him in January. We want him in the summer. Is the release clause still available in the summer? It will be. Okay, cool. Just so you know, we will be on that conversation, having that conversation in the summer. The player goes, cool, I'll sit tight at Bournemouth for the rest of the season, right? And because it's Real Madrid, right? Real Madrid trump everyone. I've always stood by that. If Real Madrid come knocking, they trump everyone. It doesn't matter how good or bad they are in the moment. They will always trump. I'm not sitting here saying that Semenyo is going to go to Real Madrid, but I'm using them as an example. The player will just go, oh, wait, I've got no rush. The fixed fee's on the table, £65 million. I'll wait it out. And I think this is where football fans don't listen. Spurs fans go, we're the best option for him. No, we're fucking not. No, we're not.
I mean, that's all it comes down to, isn't it? At the end of and in a way, it's exactly the same with Eze, right? Should we be in for him? Of course we should. Of course we should. Would he join us? I think that's a yes as well, on the proviso that that's his best offer. It's as simple as that. Because ultimately, it's better than Bournemouth. So would he join? Whether he might choose to sit tight if we were his only offer in, like Perchy's just saying, if we were his only offer in January, he might choose just to sit tight till the summer. But even let's say the summer comes along, I think he probably will move. And if we're the only club in, would he join us? I think he would. But what are the chances that we're the only club? What are the chances that we're his best option? So for that, how many clubs have to not be in for him? Arsenal, Chelsea, Liverpool, City, Bayern, PSG, Barca, Real. All of them have to not go for him for us to have any chance.
Do you know what's funny? Look at this. When did I undermine Spurs? That's all. I'm saying, I've said this about any signing, right? There is a food chain.
Impossible.
Right?
Sorry.
Mate, do you know what I've learned over the years on YouTube? You can't say anything, Perchy, because people just make shit up. Like, do you know what?
Do you know what's funny? You could have just said, we're 100% going to get Semenyo, and the same guy would have gone, oh, you're all over the place. You think we're going to get Semenyo?
Yeah.
Like, I've just got visions, though, of Lang and Paratici sat in a room with Savva on in the background, and they're going, well, should we go for Semenyo? And then they're like, hold on a minute. Savva's just said this. I'm not sure we should. I'm not sure we should, no.
But what we do is we live in dream world. This is what I love. I love my Phil Coys because he literally sticks his head in the sand and can only see past Tottenham. Look, I don't see Semenyo going to Liverpool. Maybe City. What? So let me ask you this question, guys. Realistically, if Tottenham and Liverpool are your options in January, right? Take your Spurs hat off, right? What have we got? I'm not saying we can't get him. Chris, I agree with your statement just now. Are we an attractive option for him? Absolutely. Are we the most attractive option for him? I don't think so. Depending on who goes in. It might be that we get to January and Liverpool go, actually, we need a centre half. We need a centre half more than we need a winger. Right? Whereas we're the opposite. But if Spurs and Liverpool go in for Semenyo, what's the pull, guys, that we've got that Liverpool, the champions of England, can't offer him?
Well, Archer in the chat has just, I can't disagree with what he's just said, but I mean, it's true.
Yeah. Because that's how most footballers want to work, isn't it? Yeah, I won't go to the big clubs. I'll go to Spurs for a change.
But on that basis, you might as well sign for Stockport County or whatever.
Yeah. Here's a question, and it's another one that not to necessarily rule out, right? Who's to say a Saudi club doesn't just go and say 65 mil for someone like a Semenyo? By the way, I'd be disappointed in the player if he went and done that, but. Yeah. They go, cool, we can get a player that's of his quality to come to our league at £65 million. We'll put him on £500,000. Like, you got to think of all these things. And the difference is I think you made the point. What do Tottenham have as a pull? Well, players will go to a Saudi club because they will offer more money. I think that's obvious reasons. They'll offer astronomical levels of wealth. Well, keep it to the Premier League clubs. Who which football clubs does a player like Semenyo go before us? The five? Chelsea, the five above us, right? I think that's fair. Let's be fair, right? If it's probably the five, I think if
Chelsea, Liverpool, Arsenal, City.
Yeah, I think those are the five in the Premier League. Then you look abroad and you look at, as Chris said, your Real Madrid, your Barcelonas, your Bayern Munichs, your Juventuses. I don't think Italy at the moment. I think Inter Milans, all these lot, your Atletico Madrids. Like, these are all the teams that will be in that conversation from abroad. Look, I don't see, the problem is because there's a release clause. The release clause allows the player to make the decision. The clubs will go £65 million. That is, whereas, for example, if there wasn't a release clause, the clubs almost have a bartering tool where they go, we'll just pit everyone against each other and get the best fee we can, right? Until
hang on, Perchy, it depends what the release clause is. All we know so far for definite is it's 65 million.
Yeah.
Now, if that is 65 million, but it must be paid in 2 payments over 12 months, that's big, sizable payments to put down on a player. Yeah, if you're saying, right, 35 million of that's got to be up front, that's a big chunk, right? So you have to ask the question, what clubs have that spare? What clubs are willing to pay it? I.e., would Spurs be willing? Would Spurs now be willing to go to ball? And by the way, I'm making it, I don't know what it is, but I'm guessing they've not made it easy knowing that he's going to be leaving, right? Do you know what I mean? You see what I'm saying? Who's going to...
Yeah.
Are Spurs going to do that? Now, I'll caveat. If Spurs went into battle with an Arsenal, a Liverpool, a City, and got him, that, for me, signals change.
Agreed.
Yeah. Spurs, but that signals change in players' mindsets of, hang on, I do want to go to Spurs. Right, so, I don't know. Listen, I like Semenyo. I'm the same. I mean, Chris, you've known me years. I'm always the same. I always think that as soon as a bigger club comes along, they get the player. So far, I've not been proven wrong. Happened with Eze. I said, right. That's my worry.
I think we should be in for him, but I think realistically where we are at the moment, it would be amazing if it happened, but realistically it's unlikely because the level of where we are, say, is here, and Semenyo's level is up there. It's too big a gap. So what we have to do really is aim. In reality, the way forward most likely is to improve the squad overall to bridge that gap. And once you've done that, and you're a bit closer, and you're knocking on the doors of challenging for trophies regularly, as we were under Poch. There was a point under Poch where I felt we could have, if we'd have wanted, go toe-to-toe. Remember when we beat Liverpool 4-1 at Wembley? I think that was the moment there where I think we were genuinely, I thought we were a more attractive proposition for a Sane or Mane, for example, who was going to go to Spurs and went to Liverpool. Mm-hmm. At that moment, that was when we could have acted, but we've fallen too far off. So we could get back there, but right now, you should be ambitious, so you should give it a go because you never know. You're not going to sign him if you don't try. But I think it's too likely to be too big a bridge for us to fill at the moment. So
I think the key bit here is right. I think because I hear this all the time. I'm not saying you say it, Chris, but I think what I hear all the time is, did Spurs try and get him? Now, I'm not saying you're saying that because I know that was but I always hear this. Spurs didn't even try. If we don't get him and he goes to an Arsenal, Spurs didn't even try and get him. Like, Spurs will be at the table like all the other football clubs. Like, I hear this all the time, and football fans need to really understand that's not how transfers work. We didn't get him, so we didn't try. That's not how it works at all. Like, but the other thing also Spurs fans and football fans in general need to realise is that I heard this. He's an Arsenal fan, so he's going to go to Arsenal. Football players don't work in the same mindset as fans. They do not care. They go to the best place for them. I heard it when, what about Eze? Because I heard this from a mate of mine earlier when, Arsenal got Eze. Well, why not? Why did he go to Arsenal get Eze? Maybe it's because they're the best team in the country right now. That's probably why Eze went to Arsenal, not Tottenham. Like, I think we just got to remember, like, football players don't think like that, right?
There is one way you can get someone like Semenyo, but you have to be in 12 months earlier, right, ahead of the curve. And our record at doing that is terrible. So you have to get in just before they've become this regular high-performing player, when they're just beginning to show that potential. And we have tried to do that a lot, but our record is absolutely abysmal. Going in, I'd put in players like Lo Celso and Ndombele in that category, where Lo Celso had one decent season, right? They'd signed him for, this is Betis, isn't it? We signed him off.
Lo Celso?
Yeah.
Yeah, we signed him from. We signed him. From Betis, didn't we? Yeah, because
they signed him like 12 months before for like €5 million. Well,
they signed the way they had him on loan from PSG, but then acted on the option to buy him for like 20 million, and then sold him to Tottenham like a month later for 60 or something stupid.
Yeah, I think we have a track record of that though. The amount of players we're linked with, like Spurs, are considering a £50 million bid, and then I look at it and they're like, he joined whatever player, they joined that club 12 months earlier for like 5 million. We do that all the time. You try to nick in early, I guess, but we have a terrible, terrible record at it. So, yeah, Lo Celso sold to Betis for a fee reported to be around €5 million.
If I'm Semenyo, by the way, listen, I'm not saying. Let me just caveat. I'm not saying it's impossible for us to sign him. I'm just saying it's not as straightforward as I think everyone thinks. I think everyone thinks this is a computer game where if Spurs go, yeah, there's the 65 million. Oh, he has to join Spurs. The player will decide, right? I think people don't get that, right? And when people say we must at least put in a bit, see, I've seen it like Reezy's putting it. I love it how these fans, right, say, look, we have to put in a bid at least, put the money down. I genuinely question some of these people, how they understand how transfers work. Spurs will only put a bid in for the player if the player and his agent have said, yes, I would be open to signing the Spurs. If we speak to his agent and his agent says, you haven't got a chance, he wants to go to City or Liverpool, Spurs don't then ring up Bournemouth or fax Bournemouth or email Bournemouth, hi, here's 65 million. And they go, right, Semenyo, Spurs want you. Yeah, I've already told them I don't.
Yeah. He goes, I'm not paying her anyway.
That's not the other thing, just to add to that. I agree completely, and that tells you that Eze would have come. But the other thing, just to add to that, so those conversations would have taken place with Eze, and Eze's representatives would have gone, yeah, he'll join you. But even because you've had those conversations doesn't mean it's a done deal, because exactly what you said before, the offer's gone in, we've agreed terms with Eze, and then they're on the phone to everyone else, go, yeah, we will go to Tottenham. Let's just make sure that there's no better offers here first. So they're ringing up Arsenal and City and United and whoever else that they find more attractive. And only then, if all of them go, yeah, not for us right now, then sure, it will be Tottenham. But the point of that was I just wanted to emphasise, even if they do say, in principle, we might be interested in joining you, doesn't mean they're going to join you, right?
Chris, do you know what? I spent the whole summer, as Perchy knows, on my show, right, with guests coming on every day, just going, just do this, just do that, as though it's Football Manager. And the one thing I always said was, even through the whole thing with the Eze deal, right, is do we truly believe that Arsenal, right, hadn't asked to be kept up to date with what was happening, right? Because it's not a coincidence that the day, do you remember, during the day we got the Spurs have agreed a fee in principle. Do you all remember that, right? Right. And then how many hours later did Arsenal bid? Right?
Well, it was literally the morning after, weren't it? And literally the morning after we got the news that Arsenal have jumped in front of us. And,
the rumours were that evening. The rumours were the same day that we had.
It was the same day. But this goes to my point. What would have happened is one of the intermediaries working between Arsenal and Palace would have gone to Arsenal and gone, guys, Spurs have triggered the fee.
He's going.
What do we want to do? And that's the moment where Arsenal had to go, let him go, or no, let's put the bid down, right? And there's just too many. I have this conversation all the time with people who don't seem to understand. The player can tell you, yeah, I'm interested. Doesn't mean he's not interested elsewhere. If if Chris is Perchy's agent, right? If I ring up Chris and go, is Perchy interested in joining Tottenham Hotspur? Chris as his agent is going to play the game. He's going to go, I'll speak to him, but Comes back the next day. He's interested. This is what his salary demands are going to look like. This is how much money the club are going to want. Yada, 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 yada. All the while, Chris being a fucking good super agent, he's on the blower to our rivals. He's on the blower to intermediaries going, just so you know, Spurs are after my client. He's up for leaving. Who's interested? Then you've got the game. So all the while he's telling me, yeah, Perchy's happy to join your club, Savva. In the background, he's going, Perchy's happy to join your club and your club and your club as well. And this is why fans, when they just say things like, just put in a bid, it's like, I've seen it day in, day out, working for Premier League football clubs, that this is not how it works.
But you don't need to see it to be involved in it. There is I say this all the time. Watch documentaries and watch podcasts. So every ex-player in this world has a podcast now, and they bring on other pros and they bring on agents. I always reference the Ben Foster one because I think him and Richard Lee are brilliant. They absolutely tell you how the whole process works. And people just, as you say, unfortunately, people just want to be in their minds that, oh, it's just about money. It's not. It's not about just putting the money down. Players don't work like that. We have,
but Perchy, this is what you get. You get comments like this. Again, DB, they could have triggered the field along, but Arsenal gave themselves the option.
Yeah.
Right? Do we want Eze? Yes. Is this the be-all and end-all for us? No. If another club comes in, we've got a decision to make.
Yeah.
Right? This is the thing. This is keeping your options open. Right? So we're saying it was down to the injury. Right? You don't know that. I don't know that. I guarantee. If you remember earlier in the summer, we were told that Eze had agreed personal terms with Arsenal, but no bid had gone in.
Yeah.
So they were monitoring it.
But the thing is what people don't realise football clubs treat it like a game of chess, right? To an extent.
Of course.
So you've got to remember, Arsenal would have gone, do you know what? Eze right at this moment isn't a priority. So we'll wait it out. But if another and by the way, it doesn't have to have been Tottenham. It could have been any football club. If it was anyone, if it was Bayern Munich, it would have been, look, this football club is now involved. What do we want to do? Do we want to let him go at this price point, or do we want to commit to it? They would have waited up until the summer, they would have waited, up until the deadline day to go, okay, now we've got to make the call. And I think football fans don't get it. Tottenham got themselves in the race, and almost, whether people like it or not, and this is how I see it, Eze almost pushed the move to Arsenal by coming to Tottenham, getting involved with Tottenham, right? I think this was much more about the player going, do you know what? Let's get on the table with Tottenham. Tottenham want us. Let's see what they're going to offer. But we know Arsenal will not let my player come to it. It's not how it works. This is the thing. People don't get football, man.
But by the way, we almost did the same thing with Xavi Simons. We've almost done the same thing with Xavi Simons. We wanted him, yeah? And then we went in and took him. Listen, DB, I promise you, my man, I've worked for Premier League football clubs. I've spoken to the intermediaries and the agents. This is how it works. When people say, like look at this. I love this, right? Savva, sorry, I disagree. Pay more money, you get the player.
Not how it works.
Right.
Not how it works.
Let's say Eze went to Arsenal for 65 million. Do you think Spurs bidding 70, right, would have meant that Eze says, yeah, actually, I don't want to go to Arsenal. I want to go to Spurs. That's not how this works. Honestly, Football Manager has killed fans' brain set.
But Traxy, the problem with your point is you've used a different example to use it for that example. It doesn't work like that. You're comparing apples and pears, my man. The problem is the reason why Arsenal got Declan Rice over Manchester City was Man City said, we're not going higher than this price point. This is our price point for Declan Rice. Arsenal went, okay, we're going at this price point. Arsenal's bid gets accepted, Man City's gets rejected. The player had already agreed to go to both football clubs. That's the difference for me. This is your argument.
He had a release fee.
When there's a release clause, when there's a release clause, the fee is stuck. You can't. If the release clause is activated, the football club have no argument on that point. No, I'm not, Traxy. I'm not proving your point. You're arguing two different things, my man. It's not how it works.
But listen, quick. I'll tell you what I don't get right. If I'm a player, right, and my preference is I want to go to Chelsea over Man United, for example. If Chelsea are my first choice, I will do what I can to move to Chelsea, right? And in the instance of Eze, both Spurs and Arsenal hit the release clause, right? At that point, it's not about paying more money, is it, Chris? Both clubs have hit the release clause. It's down to where the player wants to go.
David R's put a good comment in about 4 or 5 comments back talking about Shesko, yeah?
It's a great point.
Exactly that. Shesko wanted to go to United. It was just simple as that. Would he have gone to Newcastle? More than likely, he probably would have gone to Newcastle if that was the best offer he got on the table, but he wanted to go to United.
Exactly. What I don't understand, Chris, is, as I said, people think it's computer games. The number of times I just hear, right? Just put the money down. The player has to want to pick you.
Yeah.
Right. By the way, if I play for a club and let's say I play for Spurs and Chris is the owner of Chelsea and he comes in and goes 100 million for Savva, Spurs can turn around and go, yeah, as the player, I can say no. I don't know if people realize that, right? They can't make me move to Chelsea. They can't tell me you are going to Saudi, you are going to Man, you're going to. Yeah. I have to want to leave the football club, and this is.
Savva, I'll give you a crazy example, bro. I'll give you a crazy example for the situation. Let's use Semenyo as this argument, right? No, it's a bad example because he has a release clause. We're saying about just pay more money. Let's just say Wrexham pay more money than Tottenham for a football player. Anyone. Pick absolutely. I don't give a shit who it is. A football player is not going to Wrexham over Tottenham. They are in the Championship. Tottenham are in the Premier League. So just paying more money is nonsense. If a non-league club paid more money than a football league club, they're not getting a player. It doesn't work like that. This is insane. And also, what's this? How did we sign Maddison over Arsenal?
Arsenal didn't bid for Maddison.
Arsenal never won in. It was Tottenham and Newcastle, you donut. You're becoming a donut.
Danny, not. See, this is the problem.
It's not how football works.
You're a sensible guy. If I get a bid, if I'm a London-based player and I get a bid to go to Saudi, I get a bid to go to Spain or Manchester, I might turn around and go, I don't want to go to those places. I want to stay in London. By the way, Declan Rice, has come out and said, since he moved to Arsenal, that Arsenal were the favourites because him and his wife wanted to stay in London, right? Yeah. So all of these things are a factor. They can turn around and go, we're not going to play you then if you... By the way, if I'm worth 100 million, 60, 70 million, they're not going to say that to me anyway, are they? Yeah, exactly. They're not going to say that to me, right? But they can force me out. Doesn't mean I've got to leave. I turn around and go, I'll run down my contract then.
Yeah.
Until a club comes in that I want to sign for. You can't make me, you can't go, sorry, Savva, you're off to Forest. Sorry, what? Yeah, we sold you to Forest, but I don't want to live in Nottingham. That doesn't matter.
But here's another one, though, with the way you can force, but the problem is, right, you can't, it doesn't work because this is what people don't get. You can force a player to leave. Who's buying him? Marcus Rashford. Man United are doing all they can to sell Marcus Rashford. They can't sell him. They're sending him out on loans. But you can't. When the problem is what people think is, as you say, it's the football manager generation where you can just sell like it's easy and all this shit. It's not how it works. If you can't sell a player, you need to have a buying player for for a buying club for a player. So here's an example, right? We want to get rid of Richarlison. Why is he still at our football club? We've accepted bid after bid after bid for him, but the player goes, I'm not going anywhere. We've had interest from everyone for Richarlison. Big O's, I'm not leaving. You can't, this nonsense about forcing a player out. You can't just force a player who has a contract. It's not how it works. It's
also, the other point with that is if you're forcing someone out, it's not because they're playing at the top of their game, right? So
exactly.
Of them moving for the same wages.
Man City aren't forcing Haaland out there.
One of you. Perchy, let him finish. Sorry, mate.
Sorry.
I didn't get the end of the sentence.
If you've got players who are happy just to take the money, I mean, back in the day, again, going back, it might stretch your memory a little bit, Perchy, but the first example I really remember of this was when Chelsea signed Winston Berhardo, who's a Dutch international.
Yeah.
He was on 40 grand a week at the time, which at the time was like unbelievable money. He turned out to be, for whatever reason, I'm not saying he was a bad player, because I think he played for Barca as well. Didn't work for him at Chelsea. They didn't want him, and they tried to get rid of him. And he's on record as going, why am I going to, like, fine, don't play me. I don't care. I'll train with the reserves. I'm getting 40 grand a week. Why am I going to leave? I'll just sit here. Thank you very much. Which is basically what Ndombele did, right? I know he had a couple of rubbish loans, but just sits there taking his money.
I think the thing is what I see too many times in chats is you see like these people now pretending that Arsenal bid for James Maddison.
Never happened.
Right. I don't ever remember at that time. I remember that Spurs and Newcastle wanted James Maddison. I never saw Arsenal bid for him. And again, it goes down to this lazy narrative of, oh my God, so-and-so wanted him and we got him. So-and-so can want who they want. If the player says, I don't want to join them or bid, it doesn't really matter. But I just find the whole transfer thing, it doesn't matter how many times you explain it to people. It doesn't matter how many times you say, go and watch this podcast on football transfers. People still say the most ridiculous things. Look at this. What do you mean?
Not at all.
Sorry. What do you mean? Savva, we signed VDV over Liverpool. I don't remember Liverpool bidding or anything. What are we talking? Sorry, Traxy, you're making up a lot of stuff now, right? I hate to break it to you. I'm an adult. I don't live in La La Land. Just because I saw something on X doesn't mean I believe it's true, right? If it comes out and Ornstein or whatever says Spurs and Liverpool have both bid for Van der Ven, but you truly believe Mickey Van der Ven turned down Liverpool to come to Tottenham because we put up the money, and you truly believe Liverpool didn't have 40 million to put down for Mickey Van der Ven? What are we? We're just making stuff up. I love it. This is honestly half of why I've fallen out of love a little bit with YouTube is because everyone just makes it up.
What happens is someone like this fella here reads like that some two-bob journalist says Liverpool are considering approaching Van der Ven's agent about a potential fee. Goes, Liverpool were involved. No, that's not. This is the problem, right? And Savva, I've told you several times, I think I mentioned to Chris before, this is the problem about too much information now in football. We get told everything and everyone puts everything at this level. So the second you see Tottenham linked with insert player means Tottenham have approached this player and they're in for it. It's not how it works. There's so many different layers to a transfer window. And you're right in the point of, when it comes out from the likes of the Romanos, the Ornsteins, those guys, 99% of the time are on the money, right? They're on the money. So that's where it all comes from.
Yeah, I just don't listen. As I said, I just can't deal with this absolute nonsense. You just pay up. If you've got a release clause and you're the only club going for them, absolutely, just pay the money. However, the player has to want to join. Like, that is the key component for any transfer. The player has to, right? Has to have said, I want to join your football club. So, for example, if we're the only ones in for Semenyo and it is pay the money and you get him in his release clause, pay the money. Don't be surprised, though, if some of the bigger clubs go right quiet until 48 hours until that deadline. Yeah. And then they'll pounce. And this is the thing. This is what, I don't know, man. I just find it all so funny. We're just believing anything now.
Oh, we do. But this is the problem, right? And this is where I come back to, as I said, I think it's just the just pay the money line is one of the funniest. Like, it just shows the ignorance. No, I don't mean rude to anyone here, but it shows such ignorance if you genuinely think that just pay the money and you get a player. And Savva's right, you're in absolute la land if you think that. It's not. There's so much. I can't always repeat it. I can always say it right. Go and watch Ben Foster and Richard Lee's podcast. It's the best thing about football transfers. That's how it works.
Sorry, Danny's at it again. Oh my God, Danny he's never understood the transfer. Wait, Dan, you pay up if the players say they want to come. When you're saying they're both as important, before you pay up, the player has to say, yes, I want to come. Oh God, Dan, if the agent turns around and says he does not want to sign for you, you don't put in a bid to the club. This is
because if this was the case, Real Madrid would be getting bid after bid for the likes of Vinicius Junior every day. Every club will be putting in £100 million bids for Vinicius Junior. It's not how it works. Like, players have to want to go to it.
I can't.
Players have to want to go to a club because, as I said, it's just not how football works, my man.
But by the way, we're talking about release clauses here, by the way.
Yes.
If the answer is just pay the money on a release clause, I get it. But the problem is agents now play the game. Semenyo's agent isn't silly. Semenyo's agent right now, I guarantee you right now, his agent is in talks with Arsenal, Tottenham, City, Liverpool, and is playing the game.
100%.
He is playing the game. He wants 250 grand a week. They've offered him 260. Well, they're going to pay him 300. He wants 6 years. They're going to give him 7. Honestly, do you know what? When I first said I worked for football clubs, right, it wasn't a brag. It was more of a like, oh, guys, I'm trying to give you some inside information as to how intermediaries and agents work. And it just goes, no, I disagree. And you're like, mate, when I worked for Chelsea, right? When I worked for Chelsea, you'd sit and have lunch with intermediaries and agents and players and stuff. And you're listening to how all this works. And then you've got people on YouTube going, nah, that's not how it works. No, you're wrong. You're like, no, you're not. I always give the example, right? When I worked at Chelsea, there was a bid that went in by Crystal Palace for what's his face, the striker who moved to Italy. Tammy Abraham, right? And Tammy Abraham was talking about, and they bid, and Chelsea accepted it, and Tammy Abraham went, I'm not going to Crystal Palace. I play for Chelsea. I'm not going to Crystal Palace. So just put the money down, sure. But the player's gone, nah, I don't want to go. So you've got to have 3 things. 1, the player wants to sign for you. 2, you hit the fee the other club wants, whether it's a release clause or not. Yeah. And 3, right? You've got to do all of that within the time frame that you've got. I don't understand.
I love it. It's things like this. Make an offer they can't refuse. It's insane. Like, it's a release clause, for God's sake. What point? Why can't people get that? I don't know if people do it on purpose. People do it on purpose. That's not how football works.
Yeah. Sure, Danny. So let's play this game.
It's so dumb. So dumb.
If Spurs offer Semenyo 300 grand a week, aren't Liverpool and City offering him 300 grand a week as well?
It's just so nonsensical.
Anyway,
and the thing is right. Tottenham haven't got. This is the thing, right? And this is where I find it so crazy. Tottenham. Okay, let's just say hypothetically, Tottenham put Semenyo on 300 grand a week. Let's just say that, right? Are Arsenal, Man City, for example, not matching that bid? Well, why wouldn't they? If they wanted the player to come in, I think it's just crazy. We've
unfortunately people like it's unfortunately I love Danny to bits, but when he starts trolling like this, I just get bored of it. This is half of why I think YouTube's shit now, because everyone's just being silly. Look, as I said, I'll round it off and we'll move on from the signings. I love people's simplicity. I love it. Just pay more money. They really don't know how the transfers work. They just don't get it. That only works if the player wants to go to your club over the other club. I.e., hang on. I'm going to round it up. I.e., if somebody offers 65 million for me and my club have said yes, right? Another club down the road can offer 70 million. It doesn't matter. They've said yes to the 65 already. That team down the road can pay more money. I don't want to go to that club down the road. I want to go there. And that's the difference. And that is the difference. It's just, I've never, honestly, when my mate Chris is, not this Chris, my mate Chris is a football agent. And we always laugh about this because he's like, I watch your shows. He says, I see what people say. And he said, they just have not got a Scooby as to how a football transfer works. But it's funny.
But isn't the thing is just to sort of round it off though, this is how simplistic it is. Let's just say in this hypothetical world that Tottenham signs Semenyo and he's on 300 grand a week. Do people not realise the trickle-down effect of that? Players will have clauses in their contract. Players like a Romero might have a match a higher earner clause or clauses. Well, if so-and-so's on 300 grand, if someone goes 10% above me, then I need to be 10% below. It's not just 300 grand at click of a finger. It's a trickle-down. And fans, it's not how it works.
There is that factor as well. There is that factor as well. If Spurs sign a player on 300 grand a week, for example, Chris, let's just use that as an example. If Spurs go, yes, Semenyo 300 grand a week, there's going to be a couple of players in our squad that will have it written in their contract. Hang on, I have to match the top earner. And suddenly what that means is you've got somebody like Romero or Maddison or Xavi Simons or Kudus who have got, right, hang on, I've got it in my contract now. So there's a lot to consider, isn't there?
I mean, even if they don't have it in their contracts, if someone comes, you think you're the best player at the club, and someone comes in on another 50% on top of what you have, you're straight in the manager's office, aren't you? And well, in Paratici's office, probably going, hold on a minute.
Oh. Yeah.
Why is this worth another 100 grand?
Your agent is on it, right? Your agent is on it. He's going, hang on, Spurs have just signed this player on what, 300 grand a week, right? Hang on, sorry. Hi Spurs. You know the clause in my player's contract. Also, though, what's worth noting is I'm seeing a lot of people in the chat are talking about, well, how did Chelsea and Man City do it back in the day? And the difference was when Chelsea first started doing it, no one else had that money, right? So no one was getting anywhere near Chelsea. So Chelsea, when Abramovich came in, went, right, I can just start buying all the best players because I can blow everyone out the water on wages. Nowadays, look how many clubs pay 200, 300, 400 grand a week, right? Yeah. You're not blowing anyone out the water. And unless anyone's suggesting that Spurs go in and go, right, we're going to give Semenyo 500 grand a week to blow Liverpool out the water at 350 or whatever it may be. City did the same. Chelsea had it. City a few years later then went, right, well, we're going to start paying money. Now, Arsenal paying huge salaries. But Chelsea, City, Liverpool, Newcastle are starting to pay big salaries as well, right? Man United pay huge salaries. Spurs are starting to creep up there. So it's very different.
But equally, Savva, what Chelsea and Man City did, which is a difference to what we're talking about here, is also not just doing that. They had the only club doing it at the time. What Chelsea and Man City were doing as well were going, we're not buying one player at 300 grand a week, for example. We're buying 3, 4, 5 of them. And players go, well, they're buying top players at the moment. I'm getting involved in that because there's top players all going over there in one go. So those football clubs, the Chelseas and the Man Cities, were doing it at a rate where that you go, okay, I'm getting involved in that. But it's not about one player, right? Semenyo's going there, and then like we're not going out there buying 4 or 5 in a run because we've not got that capital like that.
Right. Traxy, I'm pretty sure we've just been through that, right? I mean, at the time, Chelsea and City were the only ones doing it. Now everyone's doing it. By the way, James, no, this isn't true, because if we offer 100 million for a player and Arsenal offer 65 million, first and foremost, you'd have to go, hang on, what the fuck has gone in here that there's a 35 million swing on the valuations? Second of all, if the player, i.e. Semenyo, has a 65 million release clause, Tottenham wouldn't outbid Arsenal. You'd pay the exact amount to release the clause. You wouldn't go, we want him more than Arsenal, we'll pay more, because they'll go, well, yeah, but they've hit 65 million, so we can talk to you as well.
Yeah.
Sorry, has common sense just completely left the building? Like, are we?
Oh, what a day. This is amazing. This is
sorry,
funny.
what's the release clause? It's 65 million. We'll
pay
give
you
you
100. That is quite a Spurs thing to do, to be fair. Like, how Spursy would that be? Spurs are paying £100 million on a £65 million release clause.
In fairness, there's some small splinter of logic there. So if that did happen, it never would. But if it did, of course you're the preferred bidder for the selling club, but they can't turn down the other offer.
Yeah. The selling club would like you to go to Tottenham, but they can't do anything about it.
But you'd be the worst businessman in the world.
Well, you would be right,
to bid 35 million
because,
over the release clause.
Because if you're more attractive than the other bid, you'd be more attractive at 65 million than the other bid anyway, wouldn't you? So why would you pay another 35 million? It doesn't.
I don't know. Does anyone think he'll end up at Spurs? Let's round off the Semenyo. But does anyone think he will be at Spurs in January or the summer?
No.
I wish, but no.
Oh yeah, I would love him to, but there's no chance. I don't see it. By the way, what I will say though, if we do, I'll go fair play to Tottenham Hotspur. If we've managed to get him in through the door, I'd go, do you know what? Absolute fair play. But I can't see it. Even if we were the most amazingly run football club and doing amazing, even then I still don't see it. I don't know where the pool is. I always say, what is the pool for Tottenham over other football clubs at the moment?
Yeah, I just make one last point on this. There's a few people going on.
Hang on, 1 second. Danny K, give it a rest, mate. Yes, Danny, give it a rest. It's just a little bit boring now, mate. Sorry, please. You're one of my mods.
Some people are talking about Kudus should convince him, but if Kudus is genuinely Semenyo's mate, and there's a very good chance that is the case, what kind of mate is going, don't go and maximise your earning, or don't go and join that team that are serial winners. Come to us and you can play with Brennan Johnson and Odebear. I'm like...
But Chris, I hear this all the time about, so-and-so convinced so-and-so, right? Like, I hear this all the time, but when does that actually happen? It only seems to happen, right? Those conversations, those things happen when the player does join there. But they're not going to, they're not going, oh my God, I'm not going to Arsenal because my mate Kudus plays at Tottenham. Like, do you know what I mean? The player goes, they don't convince them. They just go, well, yeah, this is what we do at Tottenham, blah, blah, blah. Like, I hear this so much. Oh, so-and-so, players all talk.
Well, how does that conversation go with Kudus?
Yeah.
Let's say City or Liverpool are in. What the hell is Kudus supposed to say anyway? Like, come and join up. What are the reasons?
It's a new era thing, isn't it? Like, it's all this agent so-and-so. I'll ask you this question, right? If I phoned up one of you, right? Danny K, mate, Danny, drop it out, mate. You're really boring now. You're meant to be one of my mods. I've asked you to stop trolling, and now you're just trolling. Please, mate. I'm desperately trying to make this channel more mature, and everyone's just bringing it down with childishness in the chat. I don't expect it from my mods. We all know what you're doing. You're calling Perchy a parrot, saying he parroting everything I'm saying. I get it. We all get it. You're very clever. Can we just stop it now? Yeah. What I don't want on this channel is I don't need to bring people on who just row. We're just having football conversations. It's this whole notion that I could ring one of you up and convince you, don't sign for anyone else. Come and sign for me because we're best mates or because we play in the same national team together. I'm sure it helps putting in a word, like the manager might go, have a word. We want him, so do they. Can you gauge the temperature? But would either of you make your decision based on me, or are you going to make it based on what's best for you and your partner and whatever?
Look, for me, I don't think it works. I think it's more. I think you've kind of nailed it to an extent from what I think. I think it's more of those where you go, we think he's going to join. Go and have a word and just sweeten it a little bit to make it done quicker. Go over there, give him a bit of a, you come, trust me. I've heard you're on your way to Tottenham. Blah blah blah. Like we do this, that, and the other. Like come down, I'll show you the ropes. Like I don't think a player makes the decision based on a mate, but the mate might go and say, give that nudge to try and push it along quicker, if that makes sense. Maybe I just don't think. Why would a player go and make a decision based on a mate? I think it's a bit silly.
Yeah. No, I think it's going to be interesting. Chris, do you see him at Tottenham? Do you see him end of January? Will he be a Spurs player?
I mean, I can see him at Tottenham, and then shortly I wake up afterwards and realise that it's not reality, right? So, I mean, he'd be amazing, unbelievable. But if I was a betting man, and rumour has it that I used to be, it's a long shot. It's a long shot. I can't see more than 2-3% probability.
I think he comes to Tottenham on one massive condition. If he will only come to Tottenham if he gets a release clause in a contract at Tottenham. So if he could come to, a bit like why Haaland went to Borussia Dortmund when he left Salzburg. The reason he left Salzburg to go to Dortmund because Dortmund were the only team to put in that £50 million release clause.
I've got to be honest, Perch, honestly, in January, if I'm Semenyo and Tottenham are the only one who meets the release clause, I think I'm very tempted just to go, I'll leave it till the summer and see what happens.
I agree. I agree. I think it all depends what's going on behind the scenes, right? Like, I think one of you guys said earlier, someone might be saying, listen, we don't want him in January. Sit tight. Sit tight. We want him in the summer, or we're not sure. We might go back in. And that's where it's down to, if you've got a good agent, the agent will advise you properly. The agent will say, do you need to move right now? Right? We could get a better deal in the summer. But the agent will also be saying, hang on, the agent's fee will be less in the summer because the release clause is less in the summer. So the agent's probably going to be going, I'll tell you what, maybe we do want to make. So it's all of these different things that go on. I see people in the chat saying that I my standards are so low. I want people like Lionel Messi at my club. It doesn't mean that I think Tottenham can get them. Do you know? I love this. I just love it. I love it. Look, I'd love Semenyo to sign for Spurs. I would, but I do think that we're about to see for the next 2 months, gentlemen, the exact same thing we do every window, where we get one player in our mind, and then it becomes, this is our guy. And if we don't get that guy, anyone else is. Because at the beginning of the summer, when we were in talks with Semenyo, I remember loads of people coming into my chat going,
nah, he's crap.
Semenyo, you wouldn't pay that. What, for him from Bournemouth? He's had one good year. And then a few months later, suddenly, this is the one guy. I think there's loads of players you can get out there. Loads of players. So I don't think it's
I think it's about being sensible. I think be sensible in this window. I think if I was Tottenham, and this is just literally my opinion on this, I'd exploit the loan market. Annoyingly, ironically, the one player that we thought we might get because he might want to get a bit of game time, are now out of the World Cup in Ademola Lookman, ironically. But like players like that, for example, if you can get someone like Ademola Lookman on loan till the end of the season, I think the loan market for me is the market to be getting involved with. Look, if you can, Semenyo for me is one of those. If you can get a hold of him, kudos for getting that one over the line. But I do think that there's going to be a lot of players in and around that loan market wanting to get more game time, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, there's other players, Chris, that people are talking about in the summer. In January and the summer, people like Ivan Toney, which we all know will be really difficult because of tax purposes. Lots of people now saying as well that Barcelona can't afford Rashford. Would that be a good option for Spurs? By the way, I said in the summer, I'll say it again. I think that he would be a wonderful option for Tottenham. Quick, scores goals, plays through the middle, off the left, experienced, England international. What do you make? Toney, Rashford, those sort of players, Chris?
Yeah, I can't see Toney. I just can't see it. The only way it would happen is if Spurs pay him the amount of money that he's going to lose in wages to the taxman, right? So it puts an extra 10, 15 million or whatever onto the transfer fee. Effectively, you've just got to give it to Toney to compensate him for the amount of money he's going to lose. So I just can't see that.
Does that count for a loan, though? I know.
Wait, I was about to say that.
Isn't the rule? Isn't it 3 years? If you're in their country less than 3 years, you have to backdate the tax.
Yeah, but
what if he's on loan?
Yeah.
This is where you might need Connor, but
right, yeah.
I think it still would count because it's about where are you resident while you're working, right? And he's going to be resident. You'll have a certain number of days you're allowed to work in the UK before you become a UK resident for tax purposes, and it won't be 6 months. It'll be a lot less than that.
Here's an example, right? I actually have a weird feeling that Toney's a sort of deal that might happen, right? And more because the player's going to want to get more game time and more exposure in the UK in the eyes of the World Cups coming up. I feel Toney is that World Cup player, one of the World Cup players that will want to get more game time in Europe because World Cup's on the door.
I think if he cared that much about it, I don't think he'd have gone in the first place.
But didn't he go? But in fairness, he went because there weren't loads of clubs after him, right?
Yeah, so you stay where you are. He'd have got another offer.
He was out of contract. Like he was. No, he did he leave because of the whole betting thing? No,
I can't
remember anyway. But
he was welcomed back and integrated back into Brentford. Yeah,
true. But look, I just think for me, I think. No, look, I think it'll be interesting, right? I think it'll be interesting as I said, I think there'll be a few players that I think there'll be a few players that will I think there'll be a few players out there that will be wanting to move to benefit their World Cup potential chances, right?
And by the way, yes, I would definitely take Iliman and Dye. I think he's a really good footballer.
Top football player.
And gentlemen, I think this is the point, isn't it? I know we're all getting, obviously, the news today of Semenyo's release clause, which isn't really new news. We knew he had it. We just didn't know the scenario surrounding it until Ornstein said it. But for me, I think there's loads of footballers out there. I look on the left-hand side and I look at people like Malik Fofana. I look at people like Semenyo. I look at people like Savio. I look at, do you know what I mean? There are footballers out there, but I just want to see that if it isn't Semenyo, listen, I'd love it to be. I'll sit here and say, if Spurs get Semenyo, fair play. Yeah. If we go and get Semenyo, fair play. It shows there's been a real shift at the club.
Mm-hmm.
But I just want to know that we're going into that first week in January with a plan. Do you know what I mean? I want to know that this isn't going to be like the old Spurs where we wait till the last week of the window and we start going for random signings like we normally do. I just hope there's a plan, guys.
Yeah, I just want to. As you're right, I want to sort of look at. I've got no issues as long as you're right. As long as there's a plan, want to know where we're looking at. Look, I'm not even against like Paratici knocking at his old stomping grounds and finding players. Like a Kepran Turan who's at Juve and who's the other fella that's at Juve at the moment? Locatelli's and stuff like. Do you know what I mean? Going out there and picking up players from there. There's some few players floating about if you can get them. I think you're right in the sense of the whole pipe dream thing with Semenyo. I think he's the one that now it doesn't matter who it is unless it's Semenyo. I feel like that's what it's going to be like. And if he goes anywhere else, it will be Spurs have done it again. Let Semenyo go to a rival. Well, I think we need to just calm a little bit on that one.
Yeah, we're not. Yeah, when we hear that we've let someone, I think that's the interesting thing, Chris. When we go, we've let somebody go to the rival. It's a tough one. But do you think there'll be a lot of movement in January, Chris? I mean, it's it's creeping towards that window being open. I'm guessing what 31, 40, 44 days, something like that. 44 days till it opens, something like that.
Well, I mean, we definitely need at least one player in the left wing for sure, and God knows what is going on with Dominic Solanke. I mean, if there's no prospect of him coming back anytime soon, then we really need a striker in. I guess we still haven't had I don't know what went wrong with my speech there. Confirmation with Mwani of how long he's going to be out, but it's likely to be a couple of months, right? I know it's not as bad as we feared, but still a fractured jaw, even if it's a hairline fracture. So we need to, but I don't really think when you're looking at the names, it's got to be someone like a Lookman who's got issues where they are, right? Or someone who's not playing. So I don't see that we're likely to go and get a Ndai in the January window. I just can't see that that's very likely, unless you go to a club who's absolutely obviously in chaos and needs the money. I know Everton have had their issues, but I don't think they're in that place anymore. In fact, I was reading something the other day about how clubs currently stack up against PSR and stuff, and there's not many of them left actually in the Premier League who've really got any issues right now. So
got to wait for the cycle to come back round, haven't you?
We could do what Nino just said in the chat and just bring back Troy Parrott, but
we've gone full circle back to Troy Parrott. Yeah, I think it's interesting. You're absolutely right, Chris. When a lot of these clubs don't have PSR issues anymore, it's not as everyone just goes, "Oh, go and get so and so. They've got PSR issues." You've got to act at the right time for that. You've got to absolutely wait till a club is in PSR issues, and then, i.e., look at Forest taking Elliot Anderson from Newcastle.
Great.
What a great bit of business that was. They've taken a top quality player for he's probably half of what he would be right now to buy.
And then in fairness, Newcastle went and replaced him with Jacob Ramsey, right?
Yeah,
from Villa, because Villa had problems. It almost became a chain of reaction.
Yeah, a chain of PSR.
There is one that you might be able to get. This would split the room as well, but I could imagine that Villa would not object if we took over Sancho's loan. That would be a possible, because it's not going well.
I would object.
I'm just trying to think of the players who might be available.
Sancho for me is one of those, if you can get him for more or less nothing with no obligations to anything, sure. The only my worry for me is with someone like Sancho is this guy motivated anymore? And that's the one big problem, right? You don't want a player of hit like him. I wasn't against him in the summer. I was like, if you could, but now I feel like it's far gone with him. He feels for me the, in air quotes, the Dele Alli kind of fall off kind of thing. Had a massive period where he blew up, and then when now everyone's going, but it's interesting, right? For me, I think it's going to be interesting this summer. Well, this January, sorry. I think there's going to be a few football clubs knocking at the door. The question would be, do you knock on the door of Wolves players? There's not many that you'd.
I'd take Gomez in a.
Gomez. Would you have someone like Strand Larsen if you could get a hold of him?
Yeah. I'm at the stage where I think our striker options are. Listen, look. In all honesty, I don't want to go out and spend 65, 70 million on Strand Larsen. I don't. But would I have him over what we've got? Yeah. Yes, if that makes sense. But the one I do want, Gomez for me, straight in our midfield and runs.
I like the other guy. I like the other Brazilian next to him. Is it? Yeah, I like him as well. But my point, when I say players like from Wolves, and I know Ryan's in the chat because I know he's a Wolves fan, but the reason why I say Wolves is, let's be fair, unless something absolutely miraculous happens, they're getting relegated, right? Yeah. They're going to get relegated. So you're almost getting in a player before they get relegated because you know it's going to happen, right? Do you know who I'd go and get if I was Tottenham? And I'd go and spend all the money you can on Akliouche. For me, he's now I wanted him in the summer. I know surely everyone can't be against us signing a player of like Magnus Akliush. I thought now people have actually seen this kid play, have gone, yeah, he's the bollocks. Like, he's the one I'd have. I'd be like, go and get him, whatever you have to do. Akliush.
Oh, listen, but Akliush is another one in the summer where, I mean, how many times I said, oh, this boy can play. Oh, but in a crap league. How good was he against us?
Mate, he was the best player on the pitch by a country mile.
A proper technical footballer that can slot into multiple positions. But listen, there are so many, and this is why for me, I don't think it all needs to be just Semenyo. Semenyo. Listen, I love Semenyo. I think he's a really good player, but I think there's so many good players that you can get out there. And I want Spurs to be clever. As I said, you utilize the loan market this window. Yeah. See, look, people saying he's awful. I mean, like, what do you? On that note, I will leave it there. The words that are used for players, right? The words that are used. We watch people like Brennan Johnson week in, week out, right? And then people want to describe Akliush as awful. Quality. Listen, for me, I just want as many technically gifted footballers in this squad that can play. Akliush can go right, left, central. Maddison left, central. Kulu right, central. I don't care. That's down to the manager to sort that out. But I'm going to send you all over in 1 minute, by the way, to the Spurs 5. And by the way, big up to my boy, the Rude Boy, my man, the Rude Boy Sound. Mate, I've tried to tell people about the food chain for years. People don't want to listen. It is real. It is a thing. Again, if you watch any of these agent podcasts, they talk about the transfer food chain a lot.
Yep.
And they all say, my player was all set to be going there. Bigger fish came in. He went, I'm going there. And that's unfortunately the difference between being a shark and being a little fish, right? That's unfortunately what they do. There is a pecking order, and it is what it is. By the way, people talk about Yildiz. I love Yildiz. Is he going to leave Juve for Tottenham? I think he's going to have some big suitors, that boy. I think if he goes, I think that's a Real Madrid, Barcelona, Bayern type signing. I think he's class. Look, just put the money down is what I've taken away from this show again. Just put the money down and you get any player you want. Guys, I'm going to send you over to the Spurs 5. Just big up. Thank you to Emma Morton. Really, really appreciate you, Emma. Thank you very much for the super sticker. Chris, I just want yes or no. Yes or no. Semenyo in this January, yes or no? Is it happening?
Is it happening? No.
Perchy?
Never.
Oh, God, I want it to happen. I just, if they do, I'll be pleasantly surprised. I'll be pleasantly surprised. Rice was not world class when he left West Ham.
Whoa. That is one of that is an absolute.
He had the option of the best two countries in the league. The best two
countries in the league.
Sorry, the best two teams in the country wanted Declan Rice for 100 million. Oh. I feel like, listen, I'd love Declan. I'd love a Declan Rice. Oh my God, it's been years. I can't remember the last time we had a top midfielder. I really can't. I really can't.
Luka Modric.
With that Dembele.
I thought Dembele. For me, Modric was fast. Like he was. I could sit and watch Modric all day, and I could still to this day like he was special.
Class. But by the way, I don't give a shit whether people call Declan Rice world class or not. When you go and make a signing like that, you are getting a game changer, and that is what Arsenal did. And then they go and back that up by getting Zubimendi to play alongside him. Guys, thank you very much, Chris. Thank you. Really pretty. No. Do you know what? It's not my chat. No. Eriksen's a playmaker, central midfielder, a top class central midfielder. Since Dembele, I don't think we've had one. I genuinely don't think we have.
If Declan Rice played for Tottenham, everyone would be telling me he's the greatest midfielder in the world. It's insane. It's only because he plays for Arsenal. Behave, you lot.
Listen, I'm going to send you over to the Spurs 5. Chris, thank you very much. Appreciate you, my man. Thank you.
No worries, bro.
And Perchy, thank you very much. Yeah, but Destiny, can I just say, Destiny, listen, I don't do this kind of silly, childish thing on my channel. Whether Arsenal finish second or not has nothing to do with Declan Rice being a top-class footballer. Come on, man. We're better than this. We're better than this. Perchy, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
By the way, we finished second, once in about the last 40 years or something. So,
yeah. It's funny to knock them for it, but I bloody wish we had their squad. If I'm brutally honest. I'm going to send you over to the Spurs 5. When you get there, just say Savva Raid or FHTV Raid. Take care. Much love. And as always, come on, you Spurs.